Welcome to Becoming Fearless, the personal growth podcast for you if you are ready to overcome fear and step into your greatness. Our purpose is to help you overcome your limits, have loads of fun along the way, unlocking your fullest potential in life, business, health and relationships every single day. I'm your host, Charlotte Carter, a high-performance coach and entrepreneur with over 20 years' experience. I've supported many highly driven, talented people like you who dream big and are ready to take action to overcome what's holding them back. Each week, my guests and I will be sharing hacks and habits on how to build self-belief, courage and confidence to master your mindset and navigate your emotions so that you can reach your human potential in a way that feels light, fun and easeful and helps you become fearless. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of Becoming Fearless. I am really excited to bring this conversation to you with one of my greatest friends, and it is going to be a really good listen for those people that are intrigued about intuition, about spirituality, about something other than themselves, because we're going to take you on a quite open conversation about this kind of topic. So please do keep tuned because that's what we're going to be covering. So I first met this lady by listening to her podcast. I first came across her following her podcast, and then I quite quickly got into her world, quite quickly worked with her, and the rest I'm sure will be revealed as we go on this conversation. But without further ado, can I just introduce Anne-Louise Harbutt and welcome you onto today's episode.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited for this conversation.
So let the world know a little bit about what you do now, and then we'll rewind and talk a little bit about how you got there.
Okay, so I am an intuitive spiritual mentor, and I work with high achieving women who want to bring spirituality with their success, who want to bring spirituality into their business, but are maybe a little bit nervous about that, or maybe not sure what that means or what that feels. They know there's something greater than themselves outside of themselves, but they don't want to be dressed as yogi with robes. They don't want to be meditating all the time. They don't want to be chanting, and there's nothing wrong with those things, but that's just not what my clients desire to do. But they want to bring that spirituality into their life and business. And I'm also a channel, so I'm able to tap into my clients' energy, tap into their higher self, to their future self, to their soul level, and channel in guidance from the universe. So it's messages that are beyond the conscious, so sort of beyond that human consciousness, and bring in those messages that sometimes in our human selves we cannot feel, we cannot see, we cannot realize that clarity that we want, especially in our businesses. And we don't know the answers because our mind takes over, our fear takes over, our limiting belief takes over. And they want that clear message that says, yes, this is right, or yes, it's aligned, or this is your next step. And it just gives that permission piece, if you like, to take those steps, and then they take action and then they fly.
So exciting. So you've not always been doing this kind of work, have you? Let people know a little bit about what your background is and how you sort of got into it. What was your journey?
So I listened to, I don't think it was a podcast, actually. I'm not sure podcasts had been a big thing then, but I listened to this lady who was speaking, and she said, I was happily married, I've got 2 kids, I've got this great life, but I'm not really truly happy, and I don't know why. And my ears started picking up, and I thought, okay, I was in exactly the same place, and I knew there was something more for me. I knew there was something greater out there, but I had no idea what that was or what that looked like. So I got in touch with this lady. She was a coach. I ended up working with her, investing with her, and went on a bit of journey of self-discovery, of realizing I had no relationship with myself. I had no idea who I was, who my true self was. I had been putting on, not a mask as such, but had been doing all the shoulds, doing what I thought I should do in my life and business. There was a big disconnect from the person that the outside world saw and who I was really inside. And I went on a journey of discovering who I was. I went on a journey of finding out my true self and being really confident in being her. That led me on a bit of a spiritual journey. That led me to a connection to source, to the universe. I felt like I had come home. I felt like everything that I had been questioning suddenly made sense. And I just felt, and I still, 10 years, 15 years later, feel it like a little kid in a shop is like discovering all these new things, because it is constantly blows me away what the universe gives and provides. I realized I had a very strong intuitive gift. I've been using my intuition for years, but hadn't really realized how strong that was. Brought that into my business. A lot of resistance coming in, as in turning around to people and saying I can channel. I got this intuitive gift, tried to avoid that for a little while, and then realized that actually that was my true soul's purpose, and that was what I was here to offer and how to serve. So went down that path, and that's really grown into a business where I help people with their intuition. One of the 5 pillars of spiritual well-being, which is what I talk about now, is following and trusting your intuition, because I believe it's an absolute key part to being successful in your business and in your life, because your intuition is always right for you. It might not be easy. What your intuition guides you to do might not be easy, but it is always the right choice.
And I think we have had many conversations about this kind of topic in terms of spirituality and in terms of like the very world that we live in and what's expected of us and what we expect of ourselves, and living in that space of what should I be doing? What are the business aspects I should be doing? What are the marketing aspects? What are the sales aspects? Alongside this whole, actually, this is who I feel I am. This is who I feel I am being. This is my energy, and this is how I'm going to show up in this kind of space. And that whole perception of other people, when you start talking about intuition and spirituality, and that sort of, some people are totally there in listening, are very curious, and some people are like, whoa, I've turned right off. This just really isn't for me. And I know that for me personally, that was like quite a wake-up call, that first awareness piece of how other people, the whole fear of judgment, why aren't other people getting this? Why aren't other people coming on the ride? It's great. And some people are like, so not it, which is obviously their choice. But when you realize and open up and tap into it, it's just so magical that why would you not just give it a little tiny go?
But I get that completely, because I think there's such a huge spectrum of stepping into this spiritual space and learning more about yourself and having this sense of there's something greater than me out there. And there are so many aspects to it. And some of those aspects don't work for people. Like, some of them you find your thing, if you like. You find the thing that works for you. And one of the biggest compliments I ever had was from a client who said, you are that grounded business where you've been in corporate, you run a business, you have a family, like you do the everyday things, but you have this amazing spiritual connection. So I guess I'm a bit of a bridge for those people who want to enter into that spiritual world and maybe are a little bit fearful, but can enter into that world with somebody who is running a business, running a home, has kids, a mum, a wife, and those things, so they don't have to necessarily explore the world with this sense of fear of, like, do I want to get on that ride? You say once you're on the ride, it is the most amazing experience to have your life and running your life with this spirituality and this connection to source, and it changes everything. But I understand that first step. So it for me, I have clients they are very spiritual, but I also have people who are just tapping into this new world, and I'm a very safe space for them to do that and have those kind of conversations on a level which is, you're not going to make me do anything that I don't want to do. You're not going, it's not something that I have to then commit to your way of spirituality. I'm very much a believer of you get to choose what spirituality looks like for you. You get to choose what it means for you to have that connection with yourself, with your soul, with a greater power, something like the universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it. But you get to choose that, rather than feeling that you're going to be made to fit in a box, if you like, of this is what spirituality looks like, because we're all unique and we're all individual.
And I think for so many people in the world that I'm in, as I stand in that space of high performance, a lot of people are, very, very driven, highly ambitious, and they have this kind of tick list way of being where they're like, they just want to get ahead. They want to get stuff done. They want to achieve. And they want to see what they want to see their success. And I think one of the things with spirituality in the whole metaphysical world is that you can't see it. You have to visualize, and you have to trust to actually bring it in. So I remember for some people, when I've been speaking with them, they're like, well, hang on a minute, what do I put on my list as to what I'm going to do? And we talk about embodiment. We talk about tapping into your imagination, your visualization. We talk about what your energy is doing. And it's a whole different way of approaching what I would call one of the strongest high performance gifts you can have. But it is a reframe for so many people, isn't it? Because it's like the trust leads the way, doesn't it?
Totally. And I think that you've made a really good point, because I think there is this sense sometimes that I can have my success. I've been driven, like you say, high performing, high achieving women. I've been successful. I've been driven. This is my strategy. This is my focus. And then there's that's that over here. And then there's this spirituality and visualization and the more sort of feminine, softer way. And when you've been driven and on that chase for more, which we, a lot of high achieving have, I'm, certainly looking for the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And one of my biggest messages is this is not an either or scenario. Like your chase for more is what drives you, that you want to keep that, you want to be driven, you want to be focused because it's part of who you are. But we can bring in and infuse that spiritual side. We can infuse that more feminine visualization, which is very powerful, because I think feminine energy, sometimes people can see that as a softer, more gentle energy, which it can be, but also think of feminine energy being a queen energy and a warrior energy. If you think of a lioness, she's beautiful and she can be elegant and graceful, but if you upset her cubs, you are going to know about it. Like there's very strong strength. There's lots of strength in a feminine energy, and you can still be that driven powerhouse. You can still be that woman who is a high performer, who is wanting to achieve all her goals. But if you bring in the spiritual side as well, not only are you going to be more successful, but you're also going to have that relationship with yourself and a connection with yourself that you've never, ever felt before.
And I think one of the biggest pieces alongside all of that is this piece where you get to be way more present in life. That's my personal experience. So I was, my biggest strength is futuristic. I love hanging out in the future. And so I've had to reframe being in the present for certain. And I think when I first opened up on the whole journey of spirituality, which will be a whole different episode, I was aware of that more and more and more. And it was like, well, you've just got to be at the moment. And I'm like, what? Well, how am I just going to be? I was way more in my masculine. I was like, no, I don't want to play the just want to be game. Where are my actions? Where are the things that I actually can totally achieve? And I think this piece is so important, because once I realized and opened up and accepted and trusted and believed in all of those levels, everything changed for me. Everything changed. And I think if you're listening and you're can identify with that kind of path, then just see if you can open up a little and be curious, because you get to enhance all of your skills. You don't get to lose anything. I remember when I was first talking about feminine energy, it was like, well, I'm going to lose all of these things that have got me so far, so why would I even entertain that? There's a whole sense of loss, rather than this whole sense of actually you can bring the bits that work with you and you're going to gain. And I think that whole perception, I don't think that's always clear for people when they're first opening up about this. You actually gain way more, but the mind jumps in, doesn't it, as fear?
Of course, because the mind likes us to stay in what we know, in the familiar. And my clients have been successful already, so they're like, kind of, why would I change what's made me successful, as you say? But the thing is that they often are successful, but there is something missing. Like, they have the success and they've ticked like I was saying, ticked the boxes. I was married, the kids, I had the job and all of the things. But there was something missing. And they have that feeling. My clients have that feeling. They are high performers, they're highly driven, they are successful, but it hasn't given them that feeling, that fulfillment, that happiness, that sense of peace, that sense of I've made it, if you like. Often there's that not chase for success as such, but if I reach this goal, then I will feel successful, and that feeling doesn't come. So then it must be the next goal and the next goal, the 6 figures, the 7 figures, the 8 figures, and nothing externally is ever going to make you feel that sense of success and happiness and fulfillment and completion unless you do the work on yourself, unless you have that sense of that spiritual connection, that connection to yourself, that connection to source. As you say, it just gets better and better and better. And you have the success. It's an and, it's not an or. You can have both.
Let's talk about the bumps in the road that you go on. You and I have spoke about these many times, and there are so many areas of building a business or building something that you want to do in your life where you're going to come across fear, you're going to come across resistance, and you're going to come across what some people call upper level and limits. And when you're entering the world of spirituality and you're opening yourself up in a completely different way, and for some people that's quite vulnerable, at the initial start, for a lot of people, a lot of things fall away, and it's like everything kind of goes a little bit wonky, and you're like, what have I done? And it's because, well, you let people know why you think it is. Because
there is this sense of, well, there are many reasons, but one of them is that you're opening up to something new. So I remember the very first time the coach turned around to me and said, when I first made that connection, she said, you don't love yourself. You do not have a connection with yourself. And it's exactly as you said. I felt like I'd been split open into, like, everything I'd known to be true and everything I'd lived by just fell apart at that minute. And it was very emotional and it was very vulnerable because I felt very raw and seen for the real me for the very first time. So I think part of it is this fear that I'm going to be seen for who I really am. And then what comes in straight after that is, but that's not good enough. That's not enough. Just being me is not enough, because it's often a belief that we've had from childhood, from when we're very young, for various reasons. And we have this not enough thread playing. And then suddenly someone says, oh, all that sort of armor you've put on, all that protection, all that I'm going to be fine, all that drive, if you like, to keep going. And then someone suddenly says, right, you just be you. And that feels really, really scary. You're also being asked to trust in something you cannot see. And a lot of my clients are very much in their head, just like I used to be, very much into the how's it going to happen? What's my strategy? What's my steps? And then spirituality comes along and says, just trust in something you visualize, and just trust, and all of these things. And I think one of the things with spirituality that people often struggle with, especially if you come from that strategy driven mindset, is, oh, it's just about sitting there and manifesting and visualizing, and you don't do anything. And you just meant to make it happen. And if you've been driven and taking actions the rest of your life, why would you even want to do that? The thing is, with the universe, yes, we have the guidance, and yes, you're given the steps, but you still have to get off your backside and take the action. You still have to do that. So I think it's like there's an awareness piece, and there's a learning piece of, okay, I'm visualizing and I'm maybe meditating and I'm grounded and I'm doing all these, like being, as you said, just being in that space of being. but please know that you still have to get off your backside and take action. And whenever we go into a place where we're having a new way of living and a new way of being, it's uncertain. Whenever we do anything that's new, it's uncertain, it's unfamiliar, and we need to start learning, if you like. It's like learning to do things in a different way. And that brings in fear, because it's like letting go of the old way and the old beliefs. But when you get to that point of really following your heart, your soul, your values, your truth, it's so much easier than trying to fit into into a box, into someone else's values or ideas. And you'll suddenly find that you are so driven and so purposeful and so fulfilled because it's coming from in here and it's coming from you, rather than maybe you'd been ticking boxes that were outside of yourself. But I think the bumps in the road really is that change. It really is that things do fall away because you suddenly start realizing what's important to you. And that can be scary, scary and vulnerable.
And I think it's like this whole concept of mirror work and seeing yourself in a whole different light. So you see yourself like you've never seen yourself before. That's my personal experience. And, there's a lot of excitement in that because I'm quite an excitable person. And then there's also a lot of, what am I actually going to discover? What am I really going to uncover? And will it be as good as I think? That was a lot of the things that I was going through. Will it actually be as good as in my excitable head it is? Because at that stage when you and I worked together, I was very much in that shiny object. It's like, oh, this is another thing. Let me see. Let me try this game. Let me play. And there's like, oh, this is quite a good game. I like this game. And I've continued ever since in a very different guise. When people first come to you, what is it that they are hoping to achieve? Because some of these people, like you say, are very driven. They come with an outcome in mind. What do you think they're hoping to achieve?
They have this knowing, like they know within them that there is something missing. Like they have this. They're a bit confused, and not maybe confused isn't quite the right word, but this like, I've done all these things. I've ticked all these boxes. I've had this success. I have everything that my logical brain told me would make me feel happy and make me feel good and make me feel fulfilled. I have done all those things. So why am I still sitting here with this empty feeling? Why am I still not feeling this sort of wholeness, this completion, this sense that all these good things, like there's a bit of like, why am I not? I have all these things. I have all this greatness in my life, all this success. So why is it not good enough for me? And often there's a sense of sort of guilt and what's wrong with me? Like, why is this not making me fulfilled? So when they come to me, they've got that sense of curiosity, because they can feel I know it's on a soul level. They may not know that at the time. They can feel this sense that the spiritual side, although they might not use the word spirituality, but they feel that there is something outside of themselves that's greater than themselves, that is potentially, like you say, let's play this game. Let's see if this is going to be the answer. If you can go into it with that, let's have fun and let's play this game in life. Actually, I think it's a good way to look at a lot of things. So they come with this sense of, I want to feel this fulfillment. I want to feel that something is going to make me feel that I've a deeper happiness, a really core happiness, a really grounded sense that I am who I am, that I am in the right place at the right time, that this is what I'm here to do. That I think also they have a sense of their choices have changed. So maybe in their 20s and their 30s, they were looking for the high life, the fancy car, the £1 million home, the business success, the 6, 7, 8 figures, and that was their drive. And now it's different. Their goals have changed, their focus. They want freedom. They want the freedom of time. They want to be off the chase. They don't want to feel like they're chasing for more. but they love being driven, but they don't want to feel like there's this sense of lack, this sense of I need to get more because I'm trying to prove or validate or get that sense of fulfillment. They are wanting more, maybe time with their family, like things that their value. They're looking more at their values, at what's important to them. And so they want to hold on in a way, not hold on as in trying to cling on, but that sense they want to still have that success and that drive. And they want to have this sense of they are fulfilling their goals and that they're being successful, but they want to feel this sense that life is good and life is worth living more than just the day to day. They don't want to be on the busyness and the busy and the doing and the doing. They want to have time for themselves. They want to have freedom. They want to feel like they're a lady of leisure, but loving their business. They want to feel they have more time, feeling like this sense that you do less but get more done. And that's what happens with spirituality. So they're still living the life they love, but they have more time for them. Because one of the things that I find with my clients is they need to learn to put themselves first. But in order to do that, they need to build that relationship with themselves. They need to find who they are, uncover who they are, what they really want from their life. And it's like I said, we've said before, it doesn't mean they have to then let go of the success and the lifestyle that they have, because that is part of who they are. It's not about like someone's going to come and say, right, you can't have that anymore and this is the life you're now going to live. It's like, you get to choose. You get to choose. You get to write the book of what you want to bring with you onto this next stage, but you know that you want to fulfill this part of you, which is, why is not everything around me? Why is this success, this lifestyle not making me feel fulfilled?
So good. So what would you say are the, if somebody's listening and they're thinking, okay, I'd like to explore this. How can people find you, and what would be the first step for people if they're listening going, do you know what, I really resonate with what Anne-Louise is talking about, and I'm not sure whether I want to jump on a call. What's the first bit? Where would you guide people first of all?
So first of all, I would head over to Instagram, and you can find me at Anne-Louise_spiritual wellbeing. And I am on there I'm doing some channeling. I share guidance around spirituality so that you can dip your toe in the water if you like. I do some live channeling on there as well, so you can watch that. There's also, you'll see there's a link for a roadmap to spiritual well-being. So it's a free roadmap that you can read, and it's a really good way just to dip your toe in the water, because I totally understand what it's like to be like, there's something in you that's going, this is something I need to explore. But like you say, you don't want to jump on a call yet. You don't want to dive right in. So that's a really good place to start.
And then if you're somebody like me, it's like, well, I just want to jump on the call because we have to, we're here to cater for the masses, and everybody buys and makes decisions in very different ways. I've always been like that, very gut-led, very quick decisions. How can people get hold of you? They're like, yeah, I've listened. I just want to get on a call now.
But you can do that in Instagram as well. There's a book a call link. So for those like you that just want to jump in, you can do that. Or you can get in touch with me, message me directly on Instagram, or I'm on LinkedIn as well. You can message me on there, and we can jump on a call.
And if you're listening and thinking, yeah, I'd like to do that, just do it. Just get on the call, because Anne-Louise's values are that if it's not right, or if it's not the right thing, she will tell you, because it's part of the whole process. You have to be open and ready, and Anne-Louise's gifts allow you to be able to trust her on the call. And if it's not right, then she will let you know. So there's no harm on getting on that call. You're not signing up, you're not getting into anything other than a conversation where you'll get a little bit more guidance as to whether this is a great place for you and something to explore, and fear is holding you back, or whether it's just not the right time.
Absolutely, because it's very important. One of my values, it's very important to me that coming into this spiritual world is one of the most beautiful journeys. And I want you to have that sense that you are being led by your soul and led by what is right for you. And intuitively, I will know what your next steps are. And you always have a choice. Like, remember, with spirituality, you always have a choice of what you choose to bring into your life, what you choose to commit to. But I don't know anyone who hasn't been like you, Charlotte, who opened that door and and have stayed, because this is such a good game. This is such a good way to live your life. And I think sometimes it's hard to articulate in words the expansive feeling that you have, the support that you get from trusting yourself on a totally different level. Like, there's one thing trusting yourself with a business decision. There's a whole another thing trusting yourself with a vision that seems beyond what you thought possible. And life still will throw its curveballs and life will still happen. But when you have that deeper level of trust, you know that you're going to go beyond what you thought was possible.
Which is so exciting, isn't it? So exciting. So I know we could carry on this conversation, but I hope that has given you all a flavour of kind of the work that Anne-Louise does with some really powerful, driven women who are looking for this answer or this permission piece around this inner knowing that feels like they haven't quite completed themselves on some level. So the question that I ask all of my guests is about what is a book that has had an influence in your life in any way, that's either overcoming fear or helped you make some decisions to be a bit braver or giving you some answers or clarity or something like that.
Yeah. So the book is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And the reason that book had such an impact on me is I suddenly realised that, one, that we have these upper limits. I suddenly realised that we only allow ourselves to reach a certain level. I realised how many limits I had been putting on myself, both in corporate and in my business and in my life. And then suddenly realising that we can change those, that those upper limits are not set in stone, that we don't have to have this glass ceiling, and that actually anything is possible. And if we allow ourselves to believe and trust and choose that, okay, this is the life I have now, I'm going to make my next upper limit this one, and then I'm going to have this life where I'm going to be more successful or more driven or more excited or more expansive or whatever you decide that you want to have in your life, and that I get to choose how that changes, and I get to make that bigger and better every day whenever I decide. It was like having the power back again. It's like I get to decide and I get to choose.
And it is such a popular book. So many people have recommended that book, and it's the book that I say as well. So if that message hasn't landed, listeners, please do go and get the book, because it is so good. And I'm putting it out to the universe that I'm going to get Gay Hendricks on the podcast to talk about The Big Leap, because so many people have said about it as being one of their favorite, most influential books. So thank you so, so much for giving up your time to have this conversation with us all on the podcast. Is there anything else you want to add to people at all?
I think really it's just to say that if you feel that something inside of you that is either listening to this and saying, I'm a little bit curious, there's something within that feels like it's pulling me towards, whether you call it a spiritual journey, whether it's something that there is something within you that there's something greater than me out there, or there's something more that I am here to explore, whether it is about leaving a legacy or having more impact, follow that intuitive knowing, because it is guiding you for a reason.
So, so good. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. I have loved this episode. Take care of yourself, take care, listeners, and tune in for another episode soon. Thank you, Anne-Louise.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. I hope that you're feeling energized, fearless, and inspired to take action today to stand in your greatness. I share even more tools and resources on my I Dare to Leap email newsletter. By signing up, you not only get early access to the I Dare to Leap products and services, but you also get brand new podcast episodes delivered straight to your inbox every Monday, meaning you'll never miss your weekly dose of becoming fearless energy. Sign up now at www.idaretoleap.com/newsletter or click the link in the show notes below.